My friends. Yeah. All right, so we're rolling. Look at this. Live to the interwebs. Live to the interwebs. I want to see wait a few people coming in.
My name's Emmett.
Yeah, Emmett over there. Max here. Hope you guys are doing great. So I'm just gonna get closer here. So thanks for coming, guys. That was amazing. Happy New Year, everybody, with a great bit of coffee. So I know I'm late in my late. I know I'm late to my blessings when it comes to New Year Eves and Merry Christmas. So I just want to wish you Happy New Year. May justice reign. I think we see a bit of it now, at least. Well, it looks apparent. Happy New Year, and have blessings for our families, for our country, for our province, and for those people who are outside as well. And have a good show. So this is the first time I actually done something like this on the outside of my real computer land, I guess. So that was actually very amazing. So we're gonna talk about the last 48 hours that happened with Justin Castro.
Not true at all.
Justin Castro. Okay, we're talking about Fidel Castro's son. More like it, right? Fidel Castro's son, because Pierre Trudeau is not his dad. Doesn't look like his dad, right? Doesn't look like his dad. Oh, I got some comments here. You sent me some comments. Oh, I got some people in there. Hi, guys. Hey, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you. Some comments from people already. That's good. People send me love and love and love. So yeah, so I was talking about the. So what we're gonna talk about tonight is basically what happened in the last 48 hours, how I see the situation going up from my political standpoint, and what's going to happen in the next potentially 3 months from a grassroots perspective, because people were jumping very quickly on Justin Trudeau's resigning, but in fact he's not resigning. He's just like postponing government, which is what it is, in the hopes that they will find a suitable leader for the party, which I don't think that will happen because it's a Liberal Party. Essentially, Justin Castro destroyed Liberal Party, as we will discuss later on, and how we're going to have to adjust our strategies for the next 3 months because it's going to be very important to address the situation there. So essentially what happened last 24 in the last day or so, we received the news that just if you see this morning at 10, probably like 9 in the morning local time in Alberta, we have some people saying that Justin Trudeau was essentially resigning. He hasn't resigned. What he's doing is that he's stepping out as leader of the PLC, of the LPC, the Liberal Party of Canada. So that's going to trigger a leadership race within the LPC, and there's a lot of speculation as to who's going to be leading the leadership race, who's going to be there, who's going to not be there. There's some people who say that Mark Carney will be there, that Christian, Mr. Speaker, will be there. Always call it that name, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, her voice, it's so annoying.
This is the kind of things that actually makes my eyes cry when I hear her voice, Mr. Speaker. It doesn't look well when she speaks, right? Anyways, and what we're going to see in the next couple of weeks is a whole slew of people trying to do two things. One is to be member, is to be the leader of the LPC first and foremost, but second of all is to trying to bring the party towards the right, because the LPC was historically a center movement. It was a center party because of things like Jibo, Trudeau, and all a bunch of those people who think like the NDP, who essentially got into the LPC because they have no chance to win if they were to show up as an NDP. They basically hijacked the LPC in order to trying to get more votes and trying to use the Trudeau bandwagon in order to cast and use that situation to get a seat in Parliament. As I was talking, one of the things that kind of worries me about the whole situation with the Conservatives is that there is no. It doesn't look to me that there is a check and balances as to when a candidate shows up as a candidate for a riding, what mechanisms within the Conservative Party of Canada to kind of filter out the guy who pretend to be conservative versus the ones who are actually conservative, right? This is something that the questions that people need to ask themselves as to whether or not when you have, for instance, somebody who is claiming to be a conservative doesn't mean that it is a conservative. And there's a lot of speculation with some candidates or so. I know two or three who are not necessarily in our side who are showing up as a conservative, right? And primarily, if you look that up, this the writing of Richmond Arthabasca. That's in Quebec. You want to look that up. Richmond Arthabasca has a conservative candidate over there. His name is Eric. He used to be the provincial whip within the provincial party with the provincial government during this pandemic, when the same government provincially was putting people in jail. They were essentially forcing the vaccines, the pukipikis, and the fake experiment under the guise of a scamdemic, right? This is the same guy who was telling his MPs to suck it up, to suck up and shut up. We don't need to deal with you anymore. This is the guy. It's called Eric, and he used to be the whip for the provincial party, and he is the guy who's running as a conservative right now. You can look that up. Richmond Arthabasca. That's in Quebec, near Victoriaville, I believe. That's the name of the town. So, as the Liberal Party is trying to focus on trying to move the party to the right side of the party, like center right, I kind of fear that I kind of worry that some people from the left are going to hijack the other side as well from the conservatives. So it's very good for you guys to ask the proper questions to your future candidates. Whatever candidate comes in is ask me, are you going to vote for me? I'm going to ask the same questions I was asked to anybody. What are you going to do is to prevent that things that happened in the last 4 or 5 years will not happen again, right?
Well, I think a important thing for a person to ask themselves about their political representatives is what's their backstory. Because if
Mm-hmm.
someone suddenly appears, oh, I'm for you, well, you can look at their track record and see if they actually were for you. For
Yeah,
example, Roman Baber, he was a provincial member of parliament for
for adopt.
Ontario,
Yeah,
and he was from a communist country. He was talking about how the mandates were oppressive and were emulating communism. And as soon as he started referring to the provincial government acting communist, they cut his mic, they excused him from caucus, they dismissed him from the provincial party.
and then he
And
dropped the conservatives.
yeah, so federally he became a conservative um, politician, but locally he was axed. And when I talk to people about them understanding the past of the politician, a guy like Roman Baber, you can understand that he made a sacrifice by putting himself out there and
Absolutely.
getting axed. He took a sacrifice to fight for what he believed in. And hopefully aligns with your views. So if you can understand that this person made a sacrifice, then going forward, they fought before, they may fight for you in the future.
Absolutely, and that happens as with conservatives and with liberals as well. I personally do not know anybody who's going to vote liberal this accumulation because Justin Castro annihilated the party, which is a good thing. He essentially destroyed the party, which is a good thing on its own. But Justin Castro, the way he is, he's going to. That's going to be my guess. Yeah, he essentially prorogued government for up until March 22nd, 24th. So from today down to March 24th, the government is essentially in autopilot mode, like an election. So the government runs on itself. Nothing happens. No laws are being passed. Everything runs on autopilot. The way it works is that they're going to have to approve budgets and such and such. And also, the LPC has 90 days from the moment that they have a leadership race down to the moment they have an actual leader. They have 3 months to do it. It's in their constitution. So now the relevant issue becomes now to as to why it's important to know all those details, because what's going to happen in the next 3 months from now, that's what I look at things, is that the conservatives will be extremely aggressive on the narrative. We're going to see things like Justin Castro prorogued government because he hasn't didn't want to deal with the ACDT scandal. Justin Castro didn't want it to deal, just wanted to prorogue because he didn't want to deal with the um, Winnipeg Lapid. Justin Castro prorogued government. He wants to hide the details of the green slush fund, which is costing you billions of dollars to run this thing. That's the so dear the carbon tax that people pay, right?
There's also child sex allegations against him right now that are surfacing.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's I've seen it. I've seen it. I don't know how far they'll go to that point. I think that part of the process will be probably discussed, probably not in the open eyes, because if they know that Justin Castro was doing little things,
Literally,
I don't know what's going to happen. But anyways, we're going to see a lot of people on the right side attacking Trudeau. I mean, there's a lot of people on social media basically celebrating Justin Trudeau's resignation. I think that going to celebrate his resignation, I don't think it's a good. I mean, the guy hasn't resigned. He's still technically the Prime Minister of Canada until the final replacement at the federal level for the LPC. Plus, they have to have a federal election. So up until now, Justin Trudeau is still yet the Prime Minister of Canada. Believe it or not, people are like waving in hands like, "Oh, did Justin Trudeau resign." No,
he's announced his intention to resign. The the process has been initiated, but until he's replaced, he is still currently the leader.
he's finding a replacement. That's what it is. And as with an employee, as with a CEO or something, you're gonna have to replace them, okay, or her. There are two sexes, and that's where we are right now. So nothing changes from yesterday. From a political standpoint, nothing changes up until now, and we're gonna see the real difference from April. I will say from April, that because that's where the tax increase will become effective for the carbon tax. That's where the budget gets stable as well. Christopher Freeland actually made a very bold statement by tabling the financial returns, the financial statement for the federal government, on which they found a deficit of $62.1 billion. I mean, when a government runs a deficit, that's a problem, regardless of the amount. That's $1 or 25 million or 6.72.1 billion. When a government runs a deficit, that's a problem. That means they have to compensate that loss in the form of taxes, right, and inflation, because taxes in that perspective creates inflation. They're doing a inflationary expense. they're essentially money beyond reckoning. They're spending money beyond your credit card limit. That's what they do. And the narrative is going to be focused on delivers now. Yesterday was Jack, like for a number of months, it was Jack mixing because he is definitely trying to cling to his pension, his golden pension. But now was going to the narrative will be focused on Trudeau. What do you think about that?
I think there's a lot that can happen in the next 2 to 3 months.
Mhm. Yep,
There could
agreed.
be another,
And we could be wrong too, right? That could be 100% wrong.
yeah, but there could be another pandemic or something that triggers the Emergency Measures Act again. Um, War involving China and Taiwan could break out. We could get involved in Russia and Ukraine. And if we're not able to call an election now, who knows when the next time we'll be able to get one. And one of the things that bothers me the most about this prorogation of Parliament is that the official opposition can't put forward a motion to non-confidence anymore. Essentially, the current government still gets to act for the next 3 months without being questioned. No question period, no sitting of parliament. The order in council that was brought in to confiscate, well, prohibit a large range of hunting firearms is going to remain in effect. It won't be questioned in a question period. And it's just more opportunity for this government to
Overstep.
overstep its boundaries without allowing the opposition to present the arguments on their side. And it's not a fair and democratic society for this to happen. Now, Harper, when he was prime minister, he also prorogated parliament, and there was he got a bit of flack for it because they thought he was trying to avoid a vote of non-confidence. So this does happen on both sides, but it is a bit of an exception to the norm, and it sets bad precedent. And it's just all part of this government or these governments being um, they're taking advantage of the levers of our system for their own power, to maintain their power, to grow their power, without necessarily showing concern for the current will of the people at the time.
And also one thing about the like for instance talking about overreaching the powers of government when the federal government stepped in and pushed the Emergencies Act. The Emergencies Act is involved in a situation there where there's nothing you can do about it. Like you're essentially exposed every possible solutions. It's not being used to like your supreme wild card, if you will. It's not like the game that you're gonna use to nuke everybody. It's not the first. You have to exhaust all your possible options in order to invoke the emergency act, and it was invoked under false premises. Now, I'm just thinking about that. If people were to do another convoy right now in February, that would be awesome. If people would say, "I'm going to do another convoy to Ottawa," just I just want to see how difficult or how easy it is for the current government, which is essentially running on autopilot now, to invoke the Emergency Act. Because part of the process of being in prorogation is that your government is in autopilot and you're essentially run your country by decree without any kind of representation. It runs on autopilot, which is kind of insane to that matter as well too.
So you'll remember during the Freedom Convoy when it was at its full swing in Ottawa, Trudeau allegedly got COVID and then went into hiding for a few weeks.
Bullshit. I call
Exactly.
it bullshit.
They ran away from the problem, and this
And that's exactly what he's doing right now.
exactly. So I think what they did was to avoid parliamentary discussion if there was another convoy that came into Ottawa, because now the opposition doesn't have a chance to speak up and say, hey, you've got a big convoy headed your way again. There's a lot of people unhappy again with what your government's doing. He's dodging that opportunity for us to have a voice there.
Yeah, and also one thing is that if you remember correctly, on the conservative side of things, that the Freedom Convoy is actually what nuked Erin O'Toole out of the as leader of the CPC. The During the convoy, he was the soy boil type of guy, supposed to be in the military. I don't know if that's true or not, whatever. He was essentially that was the event that basically took Erin O'Toole as the leader of the CPC, and they went into another leadership race on which Pierre Poliver won, which is interesting. But that exposed multiple flaws within some MPs personally, like Erin O'Toole and many others. I think there was another lady who was like after she was like an interim leader for the CPC for some reason until they find a replacement. And by the way, speaking of leaders, obviously the LPC is trying to find a replacement for to become a leader of the LPC, right? The problem they have is that they can find a leader who is as equally as dumb as Justin Castro, right? And also you might have Mrs. Speaker or Dax McCartney carbon tax or Chihuahua Champagne or whatever their name is. I like to give funny names. But yeah,
Well, there was
that's
that federal health minister that said that you should be wearing a mask while having sex. Maybe she could become the next prime minister.
that would be awesome. But nothing prevents a federal government, a Liberal Party member, to run as um, a leader of the LPC. In fact, a lot of people right now are suggesting the possibility or bidding to win the leadership race. I think I will not surprise they're going to see like 10 candidates in that race, just because most of them are trying to uh, center the party to the right, because now the LPC has gone so far to the left that everything that is resembling slightly to the right is going to be shown, is going to be presented as a right wing conspiracy theorist, as something like that. It's insane. It's insane.
Well, I think once the left wing movement started to bring gender ideology into the schools and influencing kids to possibly make permanent medical decisions, that influenced families to become a lot more engaged in culture and politics. And that was one of the triggers that's helped shift the country's vision more away from the radical left. And in trying to keep centrist, the Liberal Party has to move with that trend to become more central to remain a big tent. That said, current polling, if the election were called now, they'd only have like 6 seats, barely get a party status in Canada.
Depressing, eh? Justin Trudeau was good at one thing: destroy the LPC. Good on her. It's not, I will never.
Yeah.
Another thing in particular, and I don't know if you guys have seen the interview with what's this guy's name, with Oliver, with Jordan Peterson. I watched the whole thing, and in that interview, there was a lot of importance, that a lot of emphasis that was put into civic duty. The idea that people will need to get engaged more than just going to vote every 4 years. That's one thing, to vote every 4 years, right? That's okay. What's more important is to get yourself politically involved. Like if you go to the, like for instance, we go to the Freedom Canada website. I have events for, let's say, for people in Edmonton, um, Calgary, what have you. So you can meet other conservatives who are like-minded as well. So you can participate into and work with other conservative movements as well in such and such, which is very interesting. But what needs to be done is that this idea that people need to get involved more than voting every 4 years is taking his peak now. That's what actually led to the rise of Daniel Smith. Is that Daniel Smith essentially won because of the grassroots, because we have people on the ground saying we're not going to take this thing anymore. So she was voted out against Jason Kenney to that effect. But that's kind of what happened, was the grassroots who put her out. The grassroots are pushing things like the Alberta pension plan and such and such. The people outside her who are doing a lot of those stuff. of those things as well too, right? So it's very important to focus on civic participation.
Of course. And I got some what I think is bipartisan commentary on that. So there was a lot of complaints from the left in Alberta politics once Kenney was kicked out and our current premier was put in. The
Yep.
concerns were that she was selected or elected by the United Conservative Party and not by Alberta voters until the following election. And effectively, we're going to have the same thing on a federal level with the Liberal Party. And um, so it happens on both sides of the aisle where a new leader can be elected because of the vote within a party. So that's just more incentive for people to get involved with the parties. Doesn't matter which party it is,
Yeah.
as long as you're involved with the parties and participating in those levers of government.
One thing in particular is that the left, their strength in the left right now are the unions. Like, what is keeping the left alive? They're in the grassroots in the at the left level, like the NDP, LPC level. They're the unions, and some people around it. That's fine, but they're primarily unions like UPAC, QP, that sort of thing. On the right side, we have business people and the grassroots. That is what the grassroots are people who went to the convoy, who are doing like you guys do with A4L and stuff. So it's going to be very important to kind of empower those groups to help people in government, in position of government, because we have a check and balance when doing that. We're essentially saying we're going to help you guys, but if you guys are doing something stupid, we're going to vote you out. Works that way too.
100%. You need to hold your government accountable. And this is going to be a bit of a controversial opinion for some listeners, but I don't feel like Trudeau is the problem.
No,
It's the people that
to put him there.
voted for him. Exactly. The people that put him there, whether it's people in the Liberal Party or Canadians in general, they believed in the policies that he was putting forward. They may still hold those beliefs and put it on Trudeau, say it was all his fault, not the fault of you for voting for him, not the fault of you for, and I'm saying you generally, not the fault of you for believing in those policies. And if you can't come to terms with the philosophy that was applied, caused all these financial disasters that we're seeing across Canada now, if people aren't willing to take responsibility for that, people are going to repeat their patterns and they're going to select a new leader of the Liberal Party that'll be very similar to the old leader. So
Yeah,
it's going to take some personal reflection of members of the Liberal Party Canada and Canadians in general to decide a policy for their party and Canada's future that will benefit Canada.
and also one thing in particular is that they were in this discussion about ejecting Justin Castro. There was a possibility that the board of directors will actually get involved and kick Justin Castro out. Why you laugh at Justin Castro? Yeah,
Just laughing at the memes. They're pretty golden. But you look at the photos of Castro and Trudeau at the same
Castro.
age. It's
Oh
gold.
my God, I'm gonna try
It's a
to
good
find
chance.
the meme. Hold on a sec. Castro and Castro and
True or not, yet you need to have things to have a good laugh over.
oh yeah, Castro and hold on, Castro, Justin. I'm gonna try to find this thing here. Justin Castro. That was freaking hilarious. T-shirt. I actually have this T-shirt somewhere on my shelf. Of this thing. Justin
Okay.
Castro.
And you're able to show it up there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's
Just
cool.
just give me 1 second here. This is from Rebel News actually. Justin Castro. Okay, just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna show this thing because it's just freaking hilarious. This is just freaking hilarious. It's just freaking hilarious. I'm gonna show you something here. Share screen. I'm gonna show this thing here. You're gonna laugh at this because it's fucking fun. It's freaking funny. Castro, Justin Castro. Look at this, Justin Castro.
Can you zoom in?
Oh yeah, I'll do it. So what happens there is that you got Justin Trudeau there. You got Justin Trudeau, and you have essentially on one side that's little potato.
Oh, I see him.
On the other hand, you have
Daddy
Fidel,
Fidel.
Daddy Fidel, and little Fidel over there. Hilarious. They're very striking singers. So I think the reason why they were Justin Trudeau was able to win in that election is because of his stepdad.
Well, there's a lot of foreign involvement with Trudeau's power, I think, and a lot of it actually comes to the Chinese Communist Party.
Oh yeah, he admires the basic dictatorship, right?
100%, yeah.
Little potato. He adores the basic dictatorship in China, right? He loves it. So won't be surprise me. So the message that needs to be put out in the next like for now is to get involved politically, get involved, get a hold with the EDAs, get a hold, fund your fund your you can just fund your conservative or liberal candidate if you will, and basically tell him we're going to help you with your campaign because now what's going to happen is that we're going to campaign mode. Doesn't look like, but the way the liberals and the conservatives are fighting against each other, it's very campaign like. So we're effectively on an unofficial campaign, almost like when Donald Trump was before he started, when he went to the escalator. Same thing. As soon as he went to
January
the
20th.
escalator, people were upset. They were insane. You can see all those people getting mad at him. Because like, oh my God, I thought you were one of us. Oh no, he's not one of us. He's not one of us. How dare him? How dare? How dare? Well, that's what it is. That's called life, I guess. So get involved politically, get involved, get involved, get involved, get involved. And it's going to be extremely important for you guys to get involved. And I know some people say that Pierre Poilievre's was a WEF plant. I heard the whole thing. And let's face let's face the thing here. Things to put this thing into perspective. If Poilievre is making bad moves, we're gonna call this thing out. It's not because you're conservative, you're necessarily immune from criticism. You're going to get criticized.
Yeah,
Either side of the word. Happened with Daniel Smith, it will happen with Pierre. Doesn't matter. You're a politician, you're essentially doing customer service. Your customers are essentially your constituents, right? What's the business? Is to serve the public. This is case there.
I think it comes down to you, me, and you, the listener. Maybe Pulvari is a shill for the WEF. What are you going to do about it? What are you and I going to do about it?
Yeah.
We need to get involved and hold these folks accountable. One of the reasons why Danielle Smith has had so much momentum behind her is that the voter base believes in her and they're getting out and engaging in the politics. Now,
Yep.
it hasn't all been wonderful, but it's been pretty good, and that's because of Albertans getting engaged.
Yeah.
And it just comes down to you researching what you need to do to get involved, understand what you are good at, what you can contribute to, whether it be politics or culture, activism, sharing information. Do whatever it is you can do to participate in your society, because if you don't, then it's just going to continue to get worse if you continue to give your power to others. So it comes down to you taking responsibility, sacrificing a bit of time. Maybe you don't take your kids to all the hockey practice that they need to go to because there's more to their future at stake than
Yeah, absolutely.
hockey, sports.
A lot of things happen in the last 2 3 years is that it showed how much vulnerable we are as a society because people don't get engaged. During this pandemic, people are sharing information, which is fine, but now we're moving from sharing stuff on TikTok, whatever, what have you, into doing actual change, being on the ground, boots on the ground. That is what matters right now more than anything. Is the next 3 6 months will be paramount. Put your if you have any savings, put them down. Don't spend like a retard or something. Save your money. Save your money. Save your energy. and get involved. I got people who came to me privately and basically told me that they had their business, they have their projects and their business and stuff, but they're going to sacrifice probably 10, 15 hours a week to do XYZ. They're going to sacrifice like during the it was very common for me like when I was doing the provincial race here in Alberta 2 years ago. There were some people who are putting everything aside and knocking people's doors and having some fun. It's fun too, right? So that's the message we need to portray, is that we need to get involved as much as possible. It's going to be very important. And because, yeah, you can say that Polyver is a plan, whatever you want, but what's going to be the alternative? Sharing information is one thing, but it's going to be what's going to matter is how you do on the what you do on the ground. Like we can give countless examples of when people get involved, they pushed, like in Westlock, some Westlock, they pushed in order for the city to push the pride flag, they have to go through council, something
Yeah,
like that.
political neutral bylaw, which Barhead, the town of, also recently did that. The thing with the Barhead one was they banned a bunch of flags on both the left and, some would say, right. Like they banned the red ensign, which was a historical flag for veterans in World War I and World War II, as well as the pride flag. So it's part of getting thoroughly involved and holding your governments accountable, because they may have a headline that you like, but if you read the fine print,
Hmm.
there's always something subtle that they try to sneak under the carpet. So
Yeah, that is one thing as well. Like what happened during Bill 54. Bill 54, that's provincial one, that has to deal with the Bill of Rights, and there's a lot of friction about that as well. So, and I think you were there as well at the legislature, right? So, speaking about the woke ideology, the Communist Broadcast Corporation barricaded Alberta to remove Rainbow Cross after neutral space bylaw vote. So, getting up and vote and voting people out and get on the ground works. Sharing information doesn't work that much. Doing the actual heavy lifting, like going and taking signatures, that does work.
100%.
That does work. So we're now to the point we're going to transition from sharing stuff on the internet down to actually being on the ground all the time, trying to set things down. And the more people do that, the more opposition we're going to get, the more vicious the left's going to be. Like they're going to be vicious. So it's not they're vicious. They're vicious. They're mad. They're mad. It's going to be for us to convince them that they're wrong.
Yeah, and when you start to get involved, you might feel like you're spinning your tires at first. You can't be perfect and do exactly what you're meant to do right out of the gate necessarily. As long as you set that intent out that you want to better your child's future and society, in time, as you get more engaged, get more involved, meet more people, you will start to bring about the change that you would like to see in the world.
It's not because I mean, I don't have kids, right? But I know people who do have kids, and even for those people who don't have kids, they're on the same boat. Is that who's gonna do it, right? Who's gonna do it? Who's going to say? Who's gonna fight for me? When we were in the convoy in Ottawa, we probably were like 5,000 people. Each individual who was in Ottawa was probably representing like easily 50,000 people in their own communities. I was a volunteer at the convoy, just in case you wonder. But so, so that gives you a perspective that it's not because you're alone that you're not going to make a change. You're essentially representing people who can't be with you because they have their businesses, they have their families, they have their sick children to take care of, sick friends, whatever, what have you. But that's going to be very important. So the next couple months will be to get involved politically, get on the ground, and cut the distractions. Yeah, Justin Trudeau hasn't resigned. He just stepped out as the leader of the LPC, but he will be replaced. And I would like to see what's going to happen. who's going to be the next leader. And by the way, all the people who are going to be showing up as the potential leader of the LPC are essentially mini Trudeaus. They all woke, they all
Still the
bunch
same
of
party.
lefts. Yeah, so they all expect those people to be woke, leftists, ultra woke, ultra whatever, what have you. Expect those things to happen. Expect to. It's like a, and this is something that Michelle Rampel Graner said very effectively. Is that it's almost like the world of clones. Like each one was a little clone. Each one has this like member of this individual hive mind, if you will, which is the LPC and the woke mind virus, right? We call this a woke mind virus. Thank you, Elon. I call it that's it's the perfect description. Is like a virus,
100%.
behaves like a physical virus, and it propagates like a physical virus.
Well, and by not standing up for what you believe in, or at least expressing what you believe in, you're enabling this kind of ideology to survive and thrive. Because if you don't speak up, others who might have the same values of you as you are going to feel alone because they don't understand that you have the same opinions as them. So you need to stand up and share information and express what you believe to be true. Because if you don't, you're just enabling the opposite of what you want to potentially happen.
Even a scripture in the Bible might go after this, but even in the Bible, why do you think that the darkness flourished? Because there was no light.
100%.
There was no light. It's like light kills the darkness. It's because there was no darkness. There was no light in darkness that allowed those things to happen. It's because it's like it's all apathy. It's because we allow those things to happen. We essentially allow blind faith to the politicians to do their job, and they're being infiltrated and they're being blackmailed and such. And now they're essentially doing what in Magic 24 says. So I think at this point of time we have to work together and cut the differences. Stop playing the game that I don't like this guy. We have to stop playing this. I don't like this guy. This guy is this. This doesn't get. If you do that, you're not going to survive. And I'm gonna do a talk about that specific situation because ever since I launched freedomcanada.net, I discover I have years of behavioral data. I have years of data when it comes to behavioral instincts and behavioral data, so I can predict how people will react to certain things. And I can tell you that there's a lot of things that you can work. There's a lot of data that suggests that people are doing one thing, other people are doing another thing, people are doing another thing, but they are intertwined. You see the same people moving around. It's just that they don't focus too much at the same time. I'm going to talk in another podcast as well about that specific issue. I know that some people will talk about it as well because we need to. Our strength is in numbers. We are outnumbering the leftists now, but now it's important to keep that number checked and make sure that increases. Like at the last AGM, we were probably 5,600 people at the AGM in Red Deer.
Seems to be doubling every year almost. It's
Yeah.
very
So
good how
in
much
Calgary,
involvement there is.
They were 3,600. This last year was so 2 years ago. It was in Calgary at the BMO Center. They have 3,600 people. This year around, we had 5,600 people, and that would not surprise them in the next year. The next AGM. I'm talking about the UCP AGM just for comparison here, right? Just to give us some numbers, right? The next AGM in Edmonton for the UCP that will be held in Edmonton, they're expecting like 8,000 people. So be prepared to things like that to happen. And the more we're united, the more the left is scared, the more they're gonna cling into little cross and do the little things and cling into people and become little Karens, you know. And
Well,
with their predictive programming and stuff.
One thing I want to highlight is that the listener needs to think for themselves because there were a lot of motions that were proposed at the last UCP AGM that didn't have a lot of discussion
Mm-hmm.
and were passed by, let's say, 80-90% vote. And that indicates to me that there was a lot of participants there that hadn't thoroughly read the policies before or in detail. They just looked at the headlines on the pamphlet and um, through a crowd mentality all raised their green yes cards.
I disagree with some of the notions that were passed in majority.
Yeah,
I approve some things that were passed in majority. There are some there are there are some aspects that I just don't like it. There's some. I mean, I vote individually. I don't vote for the crowd. I vote because it makes sense. So that I vote. I said no to things that people voted in majority because it didn't make sense. And also, one thing is that in any given political party or a group, there's potentially one. There is a Pareto distribution going on moving forward. So Jordan Peterson explained that very well. The amount of people who are doing 50% of the work is the square root of the domain. So the square root of the domain do 50% of the work. So if you have 100 people in your domain, the square root of 100 is 10. So 10 people do 50% of the work, and the 90 people do the rest. So when you have 10,000, square root of 10,000 is 100. So 100 people are doing half the work, and 9,900 people, the rest, are doing half the work. So we have this problem in every situation, every group, including the CPAGM, including at the resolution stuff. So that's why you think that people are participating, but in reality, they're just like using a very specific things from the pamphlet without actually doing because they don't know the full picture as to why some people have tabled this resolution. As I said, there were some resolutions that were voted in large majority, but I just said no because this is just nuts. The other way around, I voted in majority of things that I voted yes and things that were voted in majority as well. It's not because I'm conservative. I see things 6 years ahead, and this may become a problem. So we need to have this level of critical thinking as well too. Uh,
100%. Well, for Trudeau announcing that he intends to resign, the easiest thing for a person to do is to say, good, he's resigning, and then go back to their daily life.
yeah, absolutely. And now those F2Do flags and everything, they will not make a difference. I remember this is just part of history now. In Chile, this is the country I came from, Chile. When Augusto Pinochet, which is the dictator over there, died, I don't wish that to anybody apart from it. Um, when he died, because he was an actual dictator in our country, in home country, when he died, everybody was chanting and singing national anthem in front of the legislative building, if you will, right? Something that at that time you could not do at all because if you do that, well, they'll just kill you, right? So at that time, people feel liberated. So because of the 9 years of suffering, well, I'll say in the last 5 years of suffering from this liberal NPC government, right? No play on character government. And because of this pandemic and all the pain that this government has caused us, we tend to automatically think that, oh, it's going to be over, it's going to be over, it's going to be over. No, the battle just begun.
100%.
The battle has begun.
Well,
Trudeau is on his last days, last months, but I will say that the actual day where he will be ejected will be on in October. And by the way, talk about laws and stuff. The prorogation serve another purpose, which is a good one, which is a lot of those stupid laws, like Bill 65, which is the law that was being forward to extend the election date 1 year and 1 week later, so those parasites will have their pensions, right? Those NPC people there will have their pensions. That's Bill 63. Bill 63, no, that's Bill 65. Bill 69, that's the thought crime. That's the pre-crime law. That's the pre-crime. So
I
if
think it was 63 that was the Online Harms Act.
yeah, not 69. You're right. Yeah, 63, 69. That's the oil patch one. That's the no pipelines one. Yeah, you're right. Bill 63. That is in fact the so Bill 63. That is in fact the pre-crime. So you'll be accusing for pre-crime.
Fine $50,000 and put in house arrest for someone believes that you will say something that could be deemed harmful
I
to a
could be
certain
in jail by
demographic.
now and having fun of a little potato Justin Castro
Yeah.
because I called her Justin Castro. Oh my goodness, I misgender him.
Well, there's good and bad. Like that stuff, it's in limbo for now. But the ordering councils could be a little bit longer till those get pulled.
Bill 293 as well. That is the piece of law that allows people to force another's pandemic, and through that, you're not allowed to eat meat, allowed any dairy products. You have to eat crickets and whatever they want you to eat in the guise of climate boiling.
Hmm. And the war on natural health products that was hidden within a
Yeah,
financial bill. See how that
yeah.
plays out.
And there's another one as well in the latest financial statement from Mr. Speaker. There was a law. There was a piece of. I thought it was in this particular statement they want to make sure that your tax are auto submitted. You got a serum. You have a social security number, or your tax will be filled automatically. That is in the latest financial statement. So that's going to be something that will be put forward along your UBI this year around. So the liberals have like probably 20 bills they wanted to pass in order to pest our lives with their control nonsense, because that's what we always do. Like the leftists are gonna left. So what do you expect? Communists are gonna communist. So,
Yeah.
so how many people are leaving the place of communism because of things like that? So
Yeah. So it's not the beginning of the end for the current federal government, but it's certainly the end of the beginning.
yeah, and I will enjoy to see that party die into pieces. I'll be delighted. I kind of mad that Trudeau is has left or resigned or given, because what it means if you're an LPC member, you're an NPC member, you're saying, and Justin Trudeau as a leader, he is essentially saying, and this was one of the questions that was asked by the journalist today, by news people there today. He was like, you essentially led your party to the ground. You little potato Justin Castro have led this party to the ground. What's gonna happen for the next guy who wanna come after you, right? When you leave your job, whatever, you want your job to in such a way that the other person will take care of your job, right? But being a narcissist as potato Trudeau, he is essentially saying, no, I'm done. Take care of your stuff. Take care of your shit. Doesn't matter. I'm not there anymore, so F off.
I think what he did was in the best interest of the Liberal Party, actually, because right now he's caused their party to poll extremely low. And by essentially freezing Parliament as is for now, getting a new leader will give the chance for things to start to blow over a little bit. Um, People will think new leader, new face of the Liberal Party, and it'll stall and create time for the Liberals to potentially go up in the polls. I think the ideal outcome would have been for Trudeau to hold on to power, the official opposition pass a motion of non-confidence triggering an election, and forced the people to go to the polls now when the Liberals were at their lowest, probably their lowest point in the polls. This is just an attempt for the Liberal Party to cling on to whatever little power they got.
I'm curious to see what's going to happen after what happened today. What's going to happen with on 338 Canada? Because right now 338 Canada, they're essentially destroying the Liberal Party. They were like absolutely destroying the LPC like it was no tomorrow. They were getting roasted, man. They were getting roasted. And you can see their digits in real time going down, 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 down. I think right now the CPC they're like 236 seats right now. There's an expectation that they're gonna be like over to 50 now. See what happens from there. But ultimately, what needs to happen is that there's a those last 4 years are going to be a good opportunity for us Canadians to do a little perspective and find out why is that we ended up put into the situation like this. Why is it that we have people in government who are being basically tyrants against their own population, doing psychological operations on us in order to take the piki, right?
Yeah.
Or to believe that we're wrong we were born in the wrong body and such and such. So I think that what happened in the last 4 years are going to be like a teaching lesson for our children, and we can tell them what happened when they were conceived and say, no, this is not the way to go. And what I found surprising is that little potato was actually crying. Was actually crying.
Surprised?
No, he's an idiot.
The
Right?
crocodile tears.
Crocodile tears. It was like, oh my god, Pierre Poliver is bringing a direction that is not good for Canada. You can see him crying around like little tears and like,
Well, that's
it was
how
like,
Obama
go
felt
F
about
yourself.
Trump and
Go
how
F
Harper
you.
thought
It
about
was like,
Trudeau.
go F yourself. Go F yourself. You've done this. You missed this country. You put this country to the ground. It's on you, man.
Well,
Go back to Cuba where you came from.
I think no matter what political party is in power,
Yep.
they're going to make mistakes and have
Yep.
policies that can have unintended negative outcomes. And it doesn't matter if you're on the left side or the right side, it is an opportunity for you to get involved in our political systems. One of the reasons why the Liberals won the majority they did, despite not having the popular vote, was because of our current riding distributions and the first past the post system. One of the things that the Liberals had promised when they first came into power about 10 years ago was to bring in a form of mixed member proportional representation, which would have allowed parties like the People's Party to get, say, 6 seats instead of 0 seats, while the Green Party, who had half of the popular vote of the PPC, got an infinite number of more seats than them. And by becoming more involved with how our systems work and how you can be involved in proposing changes to them, we can, doesn't matter what side of the aisle we're on, work together to develop a system or put forward a system that works in other parts of the world that more appropriately represents the voice of the people, whether it's on a national scale, provincial, or a municipal scale.
And sometimes I wish that this is from a personal experience. I wish that when people get involved politically, I just wish that people would get involved, but they will get trained properly. Because most of the people who are going to jump in politics right now, because they will see the need to do that, they will get they will get abused very badly because they're as soon as you're entering the political realm, it's rough. It's rough. Sometimes you get discouraged. I know I've done it. Uh, Not right now because that's not what you see now, but it's a rough game. It's a rough you get.
I think Trump got stonewalled quite a bit on his first term because he was relying
He's got
on
balls. This guy,
recommendations from people below him, and the administration just he had a lot of enemies that he didn't realize were enemies at first.
yeah, he's got backstab everywhere, and this is something that I think happened with personally with Daniel. What happened with Daniel Smith? It's going to have with Oliver. you have enemies everywhere. You have people don't like you. You have people you don't they don't agree on policy. Like Daniel Smith has a job. She's running as a premier in Alberta. There are things that I don't agree with what she's doing. That's fine. But she's been attacked by the unions. She's been attacked by big unions. She's been attacked by big labor. She's been attacked by big health. She's been attacked by big government on its own. The whole provincial government, in large part, are essentially a bunch of NDPers, a bunch of leftists. So you have the machine against. So you have big government against her. You've got big AHS against her. You've got big unions against her. You've got people on the left who don't like her, right? So it's going to be very interesting to see that it's not because you put a politician necessarily that you're going to necessarily she's going to he or she who is institutional power will have a job to do, and that's going to be for them to empower what they're doing or not. In fact, if you're interested in the subject in the Bible, there's a verse in the Bible like pray for those in positions of power, and I think that's in Second Timothy, I believe. Timothy, I believe. If somebody can't help me with that, Timothy, Timothy positions of power. I'm just trying to find. I think this positions of power, something like that. Uh,
I think they are very concerned about keeping their job, and if you can be a voice to them and speak loudly, they will consider it. Because if they feel like they're under pressure that they might lose the next election, then they are motivated to follow through on the points that you bring across to them.
yeah, I actually found the verses. First Timothy chapter 2, 1 through 8. That's the verse. I'm gonna put this thing on the chat here. It's First Timothy. So it's First Timothy second chapter 2 verse 1 to 8. I'm just gonna put this thing on the chat here just for the loads here. So I'm gonna put this thing here. Yeah. So First Timothy chapter 2, 1 to 8. That's the verse I talk about praying for those in authority because you have people in government who are essentially employed by the government who want to do good things, who want to do the right thing, but they're surrounded by people who don't agree what they do, right? And such. So it becomes a problem for those people to act on God's will. Any closing remarks?
Mm, I did want to circle back to something about foreign interference in Canada. So if you go to Wikipedia and just search Chinese government interference in Canada, they have a whole page dedicated to all the shenanigans that have been going on. And it was the Chinese Communist Party. It was their intent to maintain a liberal minority in Canada so that Canada would be a weakened threat against the Chinese. So they've been buying up a bunch of real estate in Vancouver and other places to establish a business presence within Canada, to pressure politicians to vote along with their policies. And also, there's been a bunch of controversy around Trudeau and the Chinese Communist Party for the cash for access scandal.
Absolutely.
And
Chinese government interferes in Canada, right? Way over there.
Yeah.
The Chinese interfering with political things in Canada. It's a living. Happens.
100%. So we're in an information warfare against foreign influencers, and part of you getting involved involves you sharing information that is the truth and holding your politicians accountable, whether it's them taking money from places they shouldn't be or understanding these kind of things that are going on.
Absolutely. In regards to things like information, I mean, right now we're moving away from sharing information to actually act on right now.
100%, yeah.
That's
It's
going
a
to be
combination.
It's a communist. So that's going to be the important thing is to act on, is to act on. So we move away from the social media aspect and we have to act and act as it was not tomorrow. The left is doing that efficiently because they have the unions and they're very organized very effectively. The left has one of the things that they do teach in the left when they're unions, when they're doing their stuff, is to get organized quickly. Organized quickly. That's what it matters, is to get organized quickly. And that was it, is to get organized quickly. And the left and the right doesn't do that because what happens is that it's very hard for the right side of things to do anything because they have a life, they have a job, they have a mortgage to pay, they have electricity to pay, they have their debts, their credit cards, and everything in between. I won't say the left doesn't work, but because the work in the most of the leftist movement work in the public sector, it's easy, and they have big jobs. It's easy for them to say, let's call it a day, let's protest against Daniel Smith. And we're going to see protests against the conservatives. They're going to see the same unions, federally or provincially, are going to protest against. Expect. I don't like say that, but expect things to go in a more geometric way from today. You're gonna see people getting very upset. You're gonna see people very happy. If you don't put God in your life, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. That's for sure. A bumpy ride. Definitely a bumpy ride.
Yeah, and I don't think a person should place all their expectations on government to solve the
No,
problem for them.
no.
By doing that, they're yielding their power to government and they're risking losing their freedoms.
It's a team play. It's a sport. It's a team play. You put people in there who now represent, and if they you don't like what they're doing, if they're doing something that they're not campaigning on, just vote them out. We don't care. You're essentially a public servant. You are entitled to the rules of the game. The rules of the game is essentially to vote you out if you don't do your job.
Mhm. Well, we're in a representative parliamentary democracy. Your representative represents you. Now, how are they going to represent you if you don't make yourself known to them, whether it's your views or beliefs? You got to participate in all ways you can.
You're gonna have to grow with skin, thick skin. I say things and I don't care. If that hurts people, it's not my problem. It's a them problem. I don't care.
100%. Well, you can't just blame everything on Trudeau,
No.
whether you're left and right. Let him be the fall guy and just move on. You got to come to terms on things.
Yeah, and as a game of chess, this guy is he was just a queen.
Mhm.
They lost their queen because it's not a man, it's a chick. He has no distortion left. Guy was crying in public. What do you expect?
Well, I think the man behind the curtain is fear within all of us that we are not coming to terms with. Like, we're not taking responsibility for the problems in our life. We believe that we need a social net to protect us, when in reality, we can take responsibility for our own shortfalls, find new opportunities to prosper, and not put it on someone else. And I think it comes down to us acknowledging our personal responsibilities and re-embracing the morals that declined in the West.
It's going to be a tough challenge. I mean, I can tell you it's going to be tough. It's going to be exciting too. A good challenge. It's going to be a good challenge, a good exciting time. But it comes with responsibilities and duties. It's not because you're voting somebody every 4 years that is going to necessarily help. Because you're going to have to be more than just. I'm not saying to dedicate your whole life on that, but more than the actual average. The actual average don't care about politics that much. They sort of think they're all the same. What we need is people in government like us, like many people in government who are gonna check the government from inside and backwards.
Well, one way you can get involved is whether it's provincially or federally, every riding has a constituency association that have regular meetings that you can go to, and you can become a member of a constituency association. If you go to the general meeting for your constituency and give a speech, you can get voted in. And
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of things that will happen. One of them will be the school board situation. One will be the EDAs. EDAs, that's the federal level EDA. One will be the provincial and federal school boards as well. And also there's going to be a municipal election in, at least in Alberta, at least I don't know for the other cities, but there's going to be a municipal election moving forward. Like when I was in Edmonton, I was watching the Firestone, the fireworks over there. Amazing, amazing fireworks. But the mayor was there. It was like we're here, we're like in a community where this, we're doing that. Yeah, your brother is. I don't know if that's true or not. Looks like him that I'm not gonna tell. Gonna say. Not, I'm not gonna say anything. But what I've seen about him, about Mayor Edmonton, is not good at all for him. Like, why you ended up being in the city of Edmonton? Who put you there? Right? You're not even voted. I don't know, but there's a lot of those things that when you look at somebody, you're like, oh yes, that's so cool, sounds so cool, but you dig all the dirt, it's like a mess, mess of a deal. More questions to come. Whatever you see somebody in there, say yourself, you got to test it for her as to whether it's a good fit or not, like a job interview. I'll just cross-examine the guy. If he's shaking or he's waiting, whatever, not a good band. I've seen people going from the left side of things and going to the conservatives and they're complete jerks. So it's not because you're a conservative that you're necessarily a good guy. There's a high probability, but I've seen some bad apples too on the right side of things as well. We have people on the right side who are not in our side at all. They want to push the little agenda. They want to help the little friends. They don't at the expense of the taxpayer.
well, I think the political dialectic is a bit of a false construct. And by that I mean,
Like gender, it's a social code, it's a construct, right?
no,
No,
not at
but that's
all.
what they say, right?
Yeah.
It's a spectrum. I'm joking.
Well, when you talk about left versus right, you're creating boundaries that you're going to pick a side on. And by picking left or right, you may have individual beliefs or opinions that don't necessarily associate with the side that you picked. And the left doesn't have everything correct, the right doesn't have everything correct. So that comes back to you critically thinking for yourself and working within the party that's in power, be it conservative, liberal, NDP, whatever, to try and bring about the change that you want to bring about.
Absolutely. So the important is to kick ass and chew bubble gum. That's the important part. Is
100%.
kick ass and chew bubble gum. That's the important thing to do.
Yeah.
Important thing to do and get involved. That's what matters. So keep strong. So keep strong, guys. The fight hasn't over. It's not over yet. It's not because Justin Little Potato Castro is crying crocodile tears that the fight is over. It's just the it's just a pawn that was it's just a pawn off the board. That's how I see things. The real celebration will be when he will be voted out at the House of Commons, and he's expected to lose by the way his own writing. Though Little Potato, he's about to lose on his own writing.
That'll be a thing of beauty.
Oh,
Yeah.
that will sound mad, but I wanted this guy to. I This might sound sadistic or anything of that nature, but I didn't want this guy to resign. I want this guy to be there because Little Potato is very good at destroying the LPC. I just want to destroy the LPC so badly that will be completely humiliated in the next election. I just want this
Yeah,
thing to happen. I just want this guy to be humiliated. Like, what if that didn't happen? If if he was the leader of the LPC until October, the meltdown, his meltdown, he will probably be in tears in October because oh,
mhm. Well, I remember a
weak
time
he is.
like 20 to 25 years ago, the liberals weren't even the minority in parliaments. Like the NDP were had them with Jack Late. They absolutely cratered after Craig and when Harper was in power, and they came back. So we're going through another cycle where they're going to collapse, but they could come back along with their ideologies. So you just got to keep involved, keep everything in check.
That's right. The important thing is to keep casting chew bubblegum and get involved and pray. Please, please put us in our prayers when you pray in the night. Make sure to pray for those who are in positions of power, obviously, but also for those who are fighting for freedom as well too. Many of us put a lot of risks, put things on the side just to try to work things out.
I want to give an example. So I recently watched a movie called Bonhoeffer. It was about a German pastor who stood up to the Third Reich during World War II,
Oh no.
and he was assassinated for, and sorry, he was publicly executed for an assassination attempt made on the Fuhrer. And he had the chance to escape the execution. He had multiple chances to escape Germany, but he spoke out against what the National Socialist Party was doing in Germany, and he took the fall with his life. And there's been governments in the past that have been a lot more oppressive. We're on the way to being in that kind of society potentially if we don't do something. And now is the time to speak up before things get a lot more consequential.
And what's gonna be like for for people like in our generation, like previous generation Gen X's, they're like, oh, we know that was gonna happen, when it was gonna happen, or maybe not, maybe yes, I don't know. But just imagine what's gonna happen in the next year or so, like when we're gonna get victorious once again, right?
Yeah.
Because it's Justin Trudeau won because he won the young majority. He essentially won from.
He legalized weed though.
I don't I don't smoke. Neither I drink. I don't do any of those things. Um, but regardless, the reason why he was legalizing weed is because he wants to get the vote from the 18 to 25s who are now in their 30s with 2 or 3 kids on their own, and they find out they can't sustain themselves because how much carbon tax this Castreau is taking off their paychecks, or when they go to put gas on their trucks, right? So I'd like to see what's going to happen in the next 6 months. I mean, I talk to a lot of people, not just in Canada but in other countries as well, and they what they see is that Justin Trudeau resigned. He hasn't. He's just resigned as the leader of the LPC until he finds a replacement. He is still a premier. It's going to be even worse because now the government is running in parallel, like it's running on its own. And yeah, I'm mad because it looks like it's all shiny, but it wasn't. At the same time, I'm pretty sure it's going to be over in October. He's going to be get smacked, and it's going to be glorious. And he's going to cry, and I don't know. Yeah,
Stay vigilant and enjoy 2025 no matter what happens.
and drink a lot of coffee. Gonna need this. So, well, thanks for your time, Emmett. I'm gonna have things to do, and I'm gonna run some errands. Getting home. I'm gonna push some events on the calendar as well. So if we get home, I have basically I was working in a lot of projects in my day job as well too during Christmas, so that's why I couldn't focus too much on content and everything. But stay tuned as well. I've been doing some things on the back end as well too. So if you go on the Freedom Calendar website, you're gonna see a lot of events as well too. I'm gonna push events for Edmonton and Calgary specifically. A lot of things going in Calgary in the last week or so because of primarily because of the municipal party called ABC, a better Calgary, a better Calgary. They have a lot of things going on as well. So stay tuned and keep on tracking and keep honking because honking will continue until freedom improves. That's what he said when I was on the convoy. Honking will continue until freedom improves. That meme I was that meme was saying what the guy was going nuts and saying freedom will continue, honking will continue improves. I was essentially in that area when that happened. I
You
was
hear about the phantom honking?
oh my god, that's phantom honking.
It's like when a person loses their limb and they still feel pain and that no longer their appendage. It's called phantom pain. So phantom honking was when people in Ottawa allegedly no longer heard honking, but they still heard the honking inside their head because they were so traumatized allegedly.
Just kill me. Just kill me. This is
Yeah.
nuts. This is nuts. Those people, they think about everything. Well, they have a good imagination. They think about phantom honking as if they were in war.
Well, to them it is. They've been radicalized in a way and triggered to be so against a movement which was intended to be.
Pray for them. Pray for them. That's all I can tell is to pray
Yeah.
for them.
Well,
Pray.
Freedom Convoy has the word freedom in it. People want liberty.
I hope that we'll see a freedom convoy too. That will be fantastic. Looking forward to see a freedom convoy too because what they can really do? They can't do anything. They can't push the emergency laws. Nobody's in government. All the people who are on there are janitors,
Well, we'll see what
and some police
happens.
are in, and the government police. That's what they do. Nobody's in there.
I think a injured animal can be very dangerous when you got an animal. I'm using the animal as a euphemism for the current Liberal government. When you got a cornered animal that's scared it's going to die, it could lash out in very unexpected ways.
And that's another thing I was saying to myself. I was saying as well is that Justin Trudeau is in a position of weakness now, and as every narcissist in this world, he's going to beat the shit out of people. He wants to all those people who are backstabbing him in the last 3 6 weeks now. He's gonna put those people in the wood chopper. You're vote against me. There you go. You're nothing. If it wasn't for me, you are nothing. That's what he says. I've done everything for you, and this is how you treat me. That's what he sees things. And now I'm doing all those things for Canadians. He is seeing himself as the savior, and in a narcissist pattern, that's how he sees. He sees himself as this grandiose guy, knowing full well that he thinks he's doing the right thing. That's what he says. But he's basically telling other people, said, no, if it wasn't for me, you would not be here. Like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Gollum, Gollum.
Ego gets in the way.
Oh yeah, that's a very egotistic matter. He's gonna be like very sore, very sad, and very pray for him that he's gonna be recover from that. Let's see how it goes. All right. Any closing remarks? Keep tracking. Well, thanks for guys for coming in. Hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you probably this week. I have some things to do, some videos I want to record as well. So thanks very much for coming. We'll see you next time, and feel free to subscribe at freedomcalendar.net, fcalendar.net on there. You can also see the visual links as well, so you can see what's going on. All right. Thanks for coming, guys. Have a good one.
Stay informed, stay free.
Oh yeah. Let the freedom improve. Freedom will continue until honking will
The honking will
continue.
continue.
The honking will continue until freedom improves.